Okay, welcome back. We're up to Argo, which is the Best Picture winner for 2012. This film kind of has a bad distinction. It's directed by Ben Affleck. Let's see if I can't find it real fast. It's one of the very few film. I think it's the only film in history um, to win the DGA. Yeah, he won he won the DGA, but he was not nominated for director. And then because it won Best Picture, was the huge dust up for Affleck being snubbed. I ultimately really do like this film. Let me bring up the trailer now. I actually think the movie is on. Okay, so the movie's not very serious. It tells a fictionalized account of the Iran hostage crisis in '79 through '81, and 6 people escaped on the first. When the embassy got taken, 6 people managed to get out. And then they get rescued, and there's this crazy plot of them having a cover identity of being film people, and they are making a fictional film called Argo, and that's where the name comes from. And then, in the context of the movie, Canada provides support a little bit by offering them safe housing and providing passports. So it's sort of a question of emphasis. In the real life, the Canadians were actually the primary architects of the rescue mission, and they did a lot of the logistics, and a lot of the planning came from them. And the CIA more or less ran point for them. The movie sort of reverses this relationship, where it seems like Canada is supporting the CIA and the mission, and then the Hollywood stuff is all beefed up, and it's just absolutely a little bit fundamentally unfair towards the Canadians in that way, because they seem like bit players when in fact they were the main players, and so that sort of bothers me. And then there's certain other things, like Lester, who's played brilliantly by Alan Arkin, he's not even really a composite character. He's basically entirely an invention of the screenplay. So that, if you know all of that, the movie feels very, very Hollywoodized, which is kind of why I think it was pretty much destined to win. Destined to win an Oscar, like Best Picture, because it's sort of it's directed by an actor about why Hollywood is great and a real moment in the U.S. history. So it's basically catnip for Oscar voters. With that being said, the distortions in the film, I think some of it's corrected by them having that. They actually, after the first couple of screenings, they actually added more footage towards the end of people saying "Thank you, Canada," and then also they added a nice text at the end where it's like, "Yeah, the Canadians really helped us." I still think it's fundamentally unfair, but with that being said, I think the film leaning into sort of the dark comedic aspects of the story that were present were really good for taking a film. I kind of wish it said inspired instead of based on. In any case, the main thing I want to talk about, because there was a lot of commentary when this film first came out, is that the movie was fundamentally unfair to the Iranians. I never got that criticism, because the movie begins with this. Let's see if I can't bring up. This prologue, which is sort of a brilliant piece of directorial styling, because the movie is about how pretending to make a movie. So the prologue is actually storyboards, which is a nice sort of stylistic touch, and it's a brief history of the U.S. and British involvement in Iran. It covers like the coup d'etat in 1953 and the installation of the Shah. And then they point blankly say he was sort of a torture regime, and they were really decadent, which is all broadly true. And then even in the context of the film, they have Americans say call the Shah a prick, and then we took them in. So the issue, the criticism about the treatment of the Iranians is it seemed to treat them as just like a mob, which is kind of true in the sense that there's really no Iranian characters because it's a thriller about Americans, and that's something else. But the thing is, this prologue sequence, even though doesn't go into great detail, I think it portrays the Iranians as being legitimately angry. And in fact, I find the movie remarkably fair, given that the type of story it's telling, given that it's not all that interested in the broader questions of history, because it's mostly a thriller about rescuing these people and the Hollywood connection, that it's a remarkably fair depiction of the anger that the Iranians had because of that. But the other thing is, and I'm going to show a little bit of this scene, is at the end of the movie, they go to the airport. This stuff is all fictionalized and beefed up to make it more of a thriller. So they're being questioned by a guard here, and about being verified what you're doing. And now they're pretending to be a film crew, and they're making a and the Argo, the actual movie they're making, pretending to make, is a science fiction, and it's totally a knockoff of a Star Wars. Literally, the Argo, the script actually existed, and it's totally a knockoff of Star Wars. And one of the guys here who speaks Farsi is going to come in, and he's going to show the storyboards, and he's going to tell this. And I don't know if it's actually in the fake script or not, but he's going to tell the story about how an alien power installed a prince, and students end up having to take over the thing, and they overthrow him, everything, blah 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 blah. In any case, because he's trying to pitch it towards Iranian guards so they can get the hell out of there. The story he tells here, when I hear it, the first time I heard it, I thought it was entirely supposed to be like a fictional account of like him telling a story that made an allegory of a science fiction film of that the hero was Iranian and they were overthrowing the Shah. Like it was supposed to be like allegory for that. I don't know if anyone else have ever seen it in the film like that, but the thing is, it's really interesting that if you have that interpretation, because Argo, the fake script, is a knockoff of Star Wars. Star Wars is actually was supposed to be George Lucas's protest against the Vietnam War, with the U.S. being the empire. So, like, in some ways, I don't think the film. It's not all that interested in the bigger geopolitical questions, but I think it does portray the Iranian anger correctly. In that scene, that prologue and that scene I just showed you sort of bookend each other, and the use of the storyboards really make it seem correct. And so because of that, I think it's remarkably fair to the Iranians while being fundamentally unfair to the Canadians. Anyway, the other thing I want to talk to you about is there's this great moment, because of course in this context of the story, Ben Affleck's character Martinez disobeys his orders, so now Cranston's character has to go get the ticket. So this is him trying to work through bureaucracy, and there's this writing technique called hanging a lantern, which is if you have a problem in your script, like a plot hole, but there's absolutely no way you can solve that plot hole, and it's too minor that you think people will notice it if you don't do anything about it, that what you do is you have a character say the plot hole out loud, and You hang a lantern on it, so you point out the problem, and so because you're pointing out the problem, people go, "Oh, okay." Even the characters don't know, it's fine. Well, there's a great lantern in this scene because he's working through the bureaucracy and he's being turned down, so he has to find the chief of staff. And so he says to this guy, "Can you find the chief of staff?" And the guy's like, "How the hell am I supposed to do that?" He's like, "We're a fucking spy agency. Just find him." Because it really doesn't make sense that they find him within like 3 minutes or whatever. But the whole idea, well, they were able to do it because they're a fucking spy agency, is just a brilliant, brilliant lantern. Then I'm really glad I really like that scene. It's a very well use of a lantern. Anyway, that's going to be it for Argo. See you guys in a minute.